Hello friends, Reserve Bank of India has recently issued guidelines for safe deposit lockers. The background was there was a case before Supreme Court wherein Amitabh Das Gupta filed a case against United Bank of India requesting for certain things, anomalies in the locker operations. Supreme Court, after considering the whole issue, gave decision that bankers cannot unilaterally impose any charges on the customers, and the facility of locker comes under Consumer Protection Act, and as such the deficiencies in the locker operation system should be dealt with as per Consumer Protection Act. At the same time, Supreme Court directed Reserve Bank of India to frame the guidelines within 6 months, which should be uniformed across the banking industry. And accordingly, RBI has framed the guidelines, which will come into force from 1st October 2021. So, what is the special thing about these guidelines? So, many people may not be knowing that lockers are not covered under insurance by the bank. That means whatever you keep in the locker, you will not get anything in case anything happens to the locker under the circumstances beyond the control of the bankers. That was the established practice. And it is based on the practical approach that whatever is kept inside is not known to the banker. And therefore, the value of any locker cannot be ascertained. And therefore, banker cannot also take insurance, even if they desire, they cannot. That was the major problem. But as the Reserve Bank of India, in its guidelines, mentioned that this situation is not acceptable. And RBI has clearly defined what is controllable, what is not controllable. So they have separated these things, and whatever controllable, and if it is not controlled, means the deficiency or negligence on the part of the banker, the locker holder will get compensation from the bank, but that will not be unlimited. That may not be according to the contents inside the locker, but it will be linked with the rent paid by the locker header. So the penalty or the compensation would be 100 times of the rent paid by the locker header. Like if you are paying locker rent 10,000 per year, in case of anything happened, you may get compensation up to 10 lakhs. That is the maximum limit. Lockers, they are of normally three types in almost all the banks: small, medium, and large. And as per their size, rents also vary, and it ranges from 2,000 to 10,000. So the compensation will be 100 times of the rent, yearly rent paid by the locker header. That is the main thing. Apart from this, there are so many other things which will bring the transparency in the locker allotment system, put forth some rules which will compel bankers to dispose of the contents of the locker of the deceased locker header within a stipulated period, and so many things which we will be discussing in detail. RBI has clearly mentioned that the locker hirer should not be compelled to open account with that bank. Simply, customer due diligence will solve the purpose. So, what is customer due diligence? Customer due diligence means the hirer should be giving all the documents required for opening of the accounts, that is KYC documents and photograph, that will suffice the purpose. in case the local locker hirer are the local customer. Local customer means they are the customer of the bank. They can use the facility in usual manner. They do not require even customer due diligence. Now, the another thing in customer due diligence will come into force that each and every locker hirer will give an undertaking that he will not keep anything illegal inside the locker. So that will have some impact. We'll discuss in the subsequent slides. The important thing has been given in the guidelines is that there will be transparency in the locker allotment system. Nowadays, what is happening? Customer keep on going to the branch managers of the particular bank, and they refuse to give the locker, saying that lockers are not available, and customer has no means that they can ascertain whether lockers are available or not available. The purpose why branch managers and other they are saying, because they have uh, made the lockers as a source of deposit mobilization. They expect they have to deposit from the locker hirer. So now, as per the guidelines, each and every branch of the bank will have to prepare a list of vacant lockers that will be kept on the website of the bank. If lockers are not available, branch will have to prepare a waiting list so that the customer desirous of having locker at a particular branch may be advised in due course whenever lockers are available. So that is a very good thing. And as regards the deposit, RBI has made clear that bank cannot arbitrarily impose any demand to have a deposit. Now, the criteria has been fixed that bank can demand deposit equal to 3 years of rent of the locker plus break opening of the locker. Why? Because if continuously lockers rent are not paid up to 3 years, bank will have no option but to break open the locker and dispose of the contents. So the RBI has fixed that limit, 3 years rent plus charges of break opening of the locker. As we have discussed, RBI has clearly separated what is controllable, what is not controllable in the security of the locker. RBI has stipulated that the locker facility should be housed in a very protective environment. There should be guarding 24 hours. These 24-hour guards should be available. And the security procedures should be well documented and should be followed by all the branches of the bank. And the security process should be approved at higher level. RBI has further laid down that the keys of the locker, the name of the bank should be embossed on the keys so that in case of need, it could be ascertained which bank, which branch this key belongs. And the second thing is that where mechanical lockers are installed, the locker should conform to the guidelines fixed by BIS. This locker should be BIS compliant. Although most of the banks they are following the same thing. If the electronically operated lockers are provided by the bank, the process should be known to the staff. The staff should be well equipped, they should be well trained. Like that, so many things have been stipulated by the Reserve Bank of India. In the locker operation, RBI has stipulated that whenever locker is operated, the SMS or email should be sent to the locker hirer that the locker was successfully operated during the day, so that in case of any adverse thing, locker hirer may be aware that what has happened. And Guidelines also says that there should be some internal checks and balances and monitoring on the locker operation system. And after the locker operation ends, the authorized officer should ensure that lockers are closed. In case otherwise, the locker hire should be informed immediately. And whenever any locker is vacated by any locker hires, the locks should be interchanged. Although all these guidelines are in place by most of the banks, but even then, RBI has reiterated that they should be followed without fail. RBI has also clarified so many things on the nomination facility, particularly keeping in view that even after the nomination, nominee or the legal heirs of the locker hirer, deceased locker hirers, face so many challenges, and therefore RBI has clarified so many things. And they have advised that nomination should be available as in case of any deposit accounts. And in case of minor, the disposal of the contents of the locker should be done as in case of other assets of the deceased in the bank. And it is happening actually, it's a repetition, but RBI has reiterated that there should be a system where all nominations are recorded, cancellation is recorded, everything is on record so that it could be moved in time in case of any litigation. That is already there, but even then, now the bank will enforce all these things, so there will be some improvement in the existing system. I has stipulated that disposal of the deceased locker hirer should be done in the faster mode. So whosoever is nominee should be done within a time-bound program. But it should be ensured that it contents are given to genuine legal heirs or nominee, genuine person. And for that, RBI has fixed 15 days period as a time within which it should be legally provided. The claimant, whether it is legal heir or nominee, they should complete the formality. That is the time limit given by that. And RBI has also stipulated that IBA should come forward to formulate a model guidelines so that each and every bank should follow the same procedure across the industry. RBI has further clarified that in case of joint lockers, the existing process for the disposal of the, as in case of deposit, should be followed, and a policy should be prepared in consultation with the law department of the concerned bank. If there is similarity, so IBA should frame policy, and each bank should have a system in place which is approved by the top level, maybe by the board. And in case the locker hirers, one of the joint locker hirers has given a nomination, all the legal system should be taken care of. For dealing with the disposal of deceased locker hirers' assets contents, each bank should frame policy that should be approved by the board of the respective bank. Why the approval of the board? So that the policy should be clear, and even the bank level, everybody should know what is the bank's policy for the disposal of the deceased assets contents inside the locker. In its own has presumed certain circumstances, like there could be one occasion when customer himself say that please break open my locker. It can happen because of the loss of the key or something like that. In that case, bank should do whatever required to protect the bank's interest and customers' interest as well. Whatever charges are required by the company of supplier, means locker supplier, it should be recovered from the customer. And break opening of the locker, it is a common practice, should be done in presence of 2, 3 witnesses. We should record, we should sign the inventory, and that can be preserved so that subsequently no litigation happens with the bank. Guidelines of RBI says that notwithstanding anything, there are certain authorities which can seize the lockers, which can break open the lockers contents. It should be part of the lockers agreement, and customers should be advised accordingly. While signing the locker agreement, they should give the consent, because it will be part of a locker agreement, so it is automatically consented that in case of any enforcement agency who have been given power under the law for seizing the lockers or for breaking open the locker will be given, and RBI has directed the bank that bank should cooperate with law enforcing authorities. Further clarified that whenever any break opening of the locker happens, whether it is seized by enforcement agencies, it is requested by the customer, or it is done by the bank itself because of the non-payment of the rent, it should be done very prudently. Inventory should be prepared, independent witnesses should be called who can sign the inventory, and the entire process should be duly recorded. Means videography should be done so that there should not be any litigation on the contents or misutilization by the bank. RBI has clarified that, as in case of unclaimed deposit or like missing persons, if a locker remains inoperative, means it is not operated for very long period, say 7 years, and locker harass is not traceable, is not located, is not responding, then bankers are at the liberty to hand over the contents of the locker to the legal heirs or nominees. Of course, after following the due procedure laid down for opening of the lockers. Most important thing of the guideline is that the compensation policy. So, as I already mentioned that so far there was no compensation policy. First time RBI has uh, put up in place the compensation policy. Now, how the policy will be implemented? There are two types of risk to the lockers. One, on account of negligence of the bank in security, safekeeping, or even the building kind of thing. If building is not very strong and it's collapsed, the banker is responsible. And anything happens because of the staff fraud or something, bank is responsible. But bank is not responsible for any act or any damage to the locker, missing of the contents on the sole act of the locker hire, means customer. The second thing, there are many things which are not under control of banker, means natural kind of thing like thunderstorm. You can say act of God, thunderstorm, flood, earthquake. In such a situation, bank is not responsible for any compensation to the customer. But now where uh, bank is liable for the compensation. Bank is liable for compensation to the customer only in case there is a negligence on the part of the bank, and which is not included in any of the natural calamity or act of God or negligence of the customer. So that is limited to the 100 times of the rent, because contents of the locker, what is inside the locker is not known to the bank. Bank is not in a position even to arrange for insurance or anything. So if any compensation is being paid by the bank, it will be paid without having knowledge of anything is inside or not. Even if locker is vacant and there is litigation and um, bank is negligent, so compensation will be paid. But that will be limited to the 100 times of the yearly rent paid by the customer. So now something will be there for the customer side compensation. RBI has further clarified that in the locker agreement, it should be clearly mentioned that since bank is not aware what is inside the locker, so bank is not in a position to arrange insurance, and bank is not offering directly or indirectly for any insurance policy. So if any bank, any customer, they require insurance, they should do the insurance in their own. That is the thing of RBI. Now, for this, all the banks should do due publicity because, as I mentioned, most people do not know whether this is insured or not insured. So publicity should be given so that customer, those they are desirous of having insurance, can take their own insurance. RBI, as a prudent guideline, has suggested bankers that banks should follow the insurance of fixed asset. That is already being done by all the banks because all the banks are subject to audit of their own in RBI audit and external audit. So everything is under audit. So all fixed assets in the bank, they are subject to insurance. So locker cabinet, that is insured. There is no issue. But RBI has further stipulated that for locker operation, there should be standard operating procedure. And this standard operating procedure should be approved by the board of the bank so that everybody is aware what should be the standard operating procedure. And in case any deficiency is observed at the senior level, it could be mentioned, and so that the SOP should be very customer friendly and without any pitfall, without any loophole. That is the thing. So this is all about the new guidelines formed by RBI in connection with the locker operation by the public sector and private sector or civil commercial banks. These guidelines are, for the first time, RBI has given such a comprehensive guideline, and I hope let us hope for the best that these guidelines will benefit public at large.